my intent is less to focus on the shooter
Mm-hmm.
and less to focus on much of the news cycle and to focus on the person. Me saying that on that podcast and going into detail why I would disagree with him,
Yeah.
I knew what was coming. I was walking down the street, stopping by getting a fruit smoothie or something, and
Mhm.
a car pulls up in ahead of me, and like I'm walking on the sidewalk and stops, and the guy gets out,
Mm.
and he says,
As you came in, we had like a little powwow. And we talked a little bit about the challenge of what's happening right now between it seems now
mm,
to become a race thing, right?
mm-hmm,
When that's not necessarily how this whole thing started, right?
okay,
And I'm referring to the story that uh, Sparkle, that you talked about early, Charlie Kirk, and recently his demise, his death, right? Um, there's a lot of, and why I say this was a great bridge is because we're talking emotional, right? We're
mm-hmm,
talking about everyone's emotions, how they're feeling right now, some of the vitriol that's coming from both sides, it seems.
mm-hmm,
And black folk has stepped their toe in the water, and we're getting into why we some of us don't believe that we should even care, right?
okay,
um just to give that just a bit of context, you recently did a podcast talking about the situation,
mm-hmm.
right? And let's be honest, what is it, Charlie Kirk? Let's be honest,
I said the truth about Charlie Kirk.
the truth about Charlie Kirk? You have gotten a real heavy pushback,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to be political here because I don't want to ruffle any feathers with that, because I believe that the response that you are getting from that
Mm.
is emotional,
Yes,
very emotional.
100%.
uh I felt concerned because now it went from critical, kind of being critical thinkers and having discourse,
Mm-hmm.
talking pedagogy, right, to now full-fledged, to a degree, almost threats, right?
Correct.
How are you feeling right now with I'm gonna back up, and we always give this as a safe space. So talk as freely or as reserved as you feel.
Mm.
But coming into this, did you believe that you would get the feedback or the response that you're getting now when you decided to film a podcast about Charlie Clerk?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. So I think most human beings don't like to hear perspectives that make them feel as though they're wrong,
okay,
that makes them be associated with things that we deem as evil.
okay.
So whenever that's posed, most people become very defensive.
Okay.
They become very reactive. It's totally normal.
Right.
So when you critique feminism and a person who's been a proponent in pushing it,
Right. Right.
they're going to take it personal. When you critique a political party
Yeah.
that they've been voting for and supporting, they're going to take it personal.
Yeah.
When you critique a particular movement, they're going to take it personal. So that's a given. We've all experienced it in our own lives whenever we've said the one thing that was off script from everybody else in the group,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we saw the initial kind of shift, and now we have to make this volitional decision of, do I have to live this like dual life
Mm,
where I say what I know everybody around me wants to hear and agrees with,
mm,
or say the thing that I believe to be true and be ostracized or potentially excluded from my friends and family and people around me? A lot of us have, maybe not everybody's done this, but those who have done that, they know what that feeling is like.
mm.
It's very isolating. I've been through that several times. I was fresh out of high school,
Right.
and I was very into politics back then, and I
Mhm.
started raising concerns and complaints about certain things in regards to war and
Right.
different initiatives that the federal government was doing, and the reactions. It was the first time I started getting called Uncle Tom and all types of stuff. So I was getting this at like 19.
Yeah.
And I'm still, I, you could work in prison, you could do the protest, you can give money,
Yeah.
you could work in the hood. That doesn't mean anything when you say something somebody doesn't like to hear.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the truth. That everything you've done, everything you've accomplished, everything you've contributed to the cause, the moment you step out of line in any of the edicts or things that a
Mm.
good black man or good Democrat or good whatever
Mhm.
Yeah.
Christian is supposed to say, the moment you say it, you know what the consequences are. So I was
Mm.
already experiencing that to different degrees way before the
Yeah.
podcast stuff
But
ever
this
came.
is you shared that this is a little different though.
It's different
This
because it's people you don't know.
yeah.
It's way more people than you're used to.
Yeah.
And it's different because you don't know how all of these people are going to respond, to be
Right.
fair.
Mhm.
So believe it or not, so many of the people that I look up to and admire and watch their documentaries and look at their speeches and stuff, they just happen to be assassinated.
Mhm.
So I'm used to knowing what happens to people who speak truth in unpopular spaces and
Give
places.
us an example of some of the truth you spoke and then examples of what you heard from the audience.
Well, for now, it's actually been not of the 700, almost 800 comments. Let's say it's about 60-40. 60 is pretty positive.
Mhm.
40% is functionally pretty negative. The
Mhm.
negatives range from you're very cold and callous for critiquing his comments and his
Yeah.
life and legacy after he just passed.
Mhm.
You're not human. You're an a-hole.
Mhm.
Couple racial
Of
related
course.
stuff.
Mhm.
There's been no threats
Okay,
as
that's
of
good.
yet. One, and but when you see that many people angry
Yeah.
with you simultaneously at once within 48-hour time span, and you saw the climate of America and what just happened,
Yeah.
all these podcasters is way bigger than me. It's starting
Mhm.
to move different. So for me, I'm going from I'm in Philly, I'm
Mhm.
doing what I normally do to recognizing and realizing like the only difference is I'm still me. I'm still
Mhm.
Mhm.
doing exactly what I'm doing, but now I have to start to be a little bit more intentional
Yeah.
and careful. I already am because I'm working in Philly, so that
Right.
was
Yeah.
already a part of my
Yeah.
lifestyle. But now I have to be a little bit more intentional about that because this stuff went viral July 3rd. I had 130 subscribers on YouTube July
Mhm.
2nd.
Mhm.
Today it's almost 25,000.
Mhm.
So like in 2 months, couple 2-3 people have recognized me
Mhm.
already,
Yeah.
and I'm like they've been positive. But one
Mhm.
of the most recent one was like 2 weeks ago. I was walking down the street, stopping by getting a fruit smoothie or something, and
Mhm.
a car pulls up and ahead of me, and like I'm walking on the sidewalk and stops, and a guy gets out
Mhm.
and he says, "Who are you?" And I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Do you do podcasts?" And I said, "Do you like the podcast?" And he
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, man, and that was dope." But the
Yeah.
reality
Mhm.
was, what if he didn't?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that's an element that I
And he
now have.
knows your face. You didn't know
Yeah, and you
his.
don't know these people.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a I know like you can say like that can happen, but it
Yeah.
is different once you say the thing or things. And this
Mhm.
is the beauty of me being me.
Yeah.
I'm bringing truth into every single area.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, liberals was pissed off at me about something.
Of course.
2 weeks before that, women thought I hate women,
Mhm.
apparently.
Mhm.
2 weeks before that, the men say I'm simping to the women. So I'm
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
pissing off
Everybody.
everybody,
Right.
and the channel's growing as it
But
speaks
you
Yeah.
don't look at when people have different views.
at all.
You don't have that same
No, so I
outlook on
can
them.
so
Like
that
they
well,
can
this is
have
the
a different
difference.
view.
I'm not
Mhm.
most people have been propagandized and indoctrinated in our country. If
Yeah.
you go to other countries and you find out how they think about our educational system, they'll say we're the most propagandized and
Mhm.
indoctrinated
Mhm.
people on the planet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the reality is there's a reason every election cycle people are talking about cutting off their family and friends they've known for 20 years.
Yeah. That.
They're
Mhm.
choosing politicians that don't know them over their family and friends,
Yeah.
right? So the reality is like they've conditioned you
Mhm.
to choose the government and politics over your family and friends.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
when your family or friend says something that goes against the system, they've trained you to be to it's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Anybody now could turn to the agent to defend the empire.
Mhm.
Mm.
They've trained us to
Mm.
move that way as a monolith so that whenever somebody gets out of line or says something that's not the thing you're supposed to say,
Yeah.
I can say out loud as a clinical mental health professional, 10 years ago, everybody knew what a woman was.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, half the country can't say it out loud in front of a microphone
Right.
or in front of company.
Right.
I'm gonna tell y'all now, a woman is your mama.
Mhm.
If you don't get that, but the idea of that, if somebody says that now, you're a bigot, you're
Yeah.
this, you're that, they've created this list
Yeah.
of things that you can't say, and if you say it, we're going to give you this title or label.
Yeah.
So with Charlie Kirk, what happened with him? Yes, I have noticeable disagreements with some
Yeah.
of his stances, some of his quotes, some of his comments, and,
Mhm.
and my belief that it was very white supremacist adjacent.
Okay.
But I do personally believe that he actually rocked with black people. That they just happened to be conservative and agree with his political viewpoints.
Mhm.
Mhm.
If they didn't, he felt like he could treat them like and talk about them in any type of way.
Yeah.
But me saying that on that podcast and going into detail why I would disagree with him,
Yeah.
I knew what was coming
Mhm.
because I saw what was coming when I mentioned things that black women need to improve on.
Mhm.
Things that I mentioned that black men failed at, and why the state of the community is what it is because of black men's leadership or lack thereof. So
Mhm.
when I say these things, I already know what's coming because
Yeah.
it's happened in my family.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
happened with my friends. There's people who I've shown up for in hospitals, done things for,
Mhm.
paid money for, looked out for, and then when we didn't align with one thing,
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
grow distant. And I was doing, if people I knew leaves or comes back after they understand things later on,
Yeah.
why would I assume people that don't know me wouldn't do the same?
Yeah.
So I was a given. Like I said, the only difference now is it's people you don't know and you
Mhm.
don't know how they'll move.
Yeah.
But my stance is like you can't have. We've had the internet now for over a decade,
Yeah.
15 years plus. We all know now at this point kind of what happens when you say things that are not
Yeah.
popular against certain groups. We
Mhm.
get it, we know it, and
Yeah.
we see the consequences of what happens to the rich and famous. We see what happens to people who's not as famous in
Yeah.
terms of losing jobs and opportunities. I'm just at I guess, a point in life
Yeah.
where I'm realizing now all the people who I admired,
Yeah.
they viewed and valued the truth more than they viewed and valued being accepted.
I appreciate that. Now, for someone that may be on the right looking at this,
Hmm.
can you explain your intentions, right? Because your intentions wasn't to say, hey, this guy was bad.
Yeah.
It was as a critical thinker to extrapolate what this whole thing was about. So why
Hmm.
don't you just lay out that framework
Yeah.
for those who may be watching this here?
My intent was super, super clear. And I say it at the beginning of the episode. My intent is less to focus on the shooter
Mm-hmm.
and less to focus on much of the news cycle and to focus on the person, which
Mhm.
was obviously Charlie Kirk.
Right.
I obviously shouted out, not shouted out, but gave condolences to his widow and also his children.
Yeah.
And also throughout the video, also said I think he should still be here. I don't
Mhm.
think that he should die.
Yeah.
With that said, I was willing to speak on why it is that there's a percentage of the population that's not mourning,
Yeah.
Mhm.
while chastising the very people who were cheering. So
Mm.
Mhm.
point number one, I
That's fair.
said,
Mhm.
strange fruit, body
Mm.
slinging,
Mm.
and Billie Holiday. I can't remember what
Yeah.
year that was.
Mm-hmm.
The imagery of seeing those pictures with black bodies hanging in
Mhm.
trees and
The
seeing
lynching.
during the lynching, seeing white people of all ilks, men, women, and their children
Mhm.
enjoying it,
Mhm.
laughing, smirking. It was like entertainment to them to see a dead body in front of their eyes.
Mhm.
And I'm saying to us as a community, both black people and just people in general, liberals, progressives, Democrats, whatever they identify as, if you're smiling and laughing and joking in this moment, realize when I see that picture how closely you are to those white people that's
Mhm.
looking and laughing and dancing at a dead you. They've lost their humanity in that moment.
Mhm.
So my initial stance was to warn us about uh going against everything that we know is good within us to
Yeah.
become the very thing that we say that we hate. Have we become the
Oh,
very thing in
personal.
people that we say we hate? So I
Personal.
initially said that was my first point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have to reevaluate where we are with how we feel. You could feel nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't have to fake
Yes.
empathy. You don't have to fake
Yeah.
feeling sad or fake tears.
Mhm.
But it's one thing to not feel something or be the apathetic or not feel and feel indifferent
Yeah.
Mhm.
versus cheering.
Mhm.
So that's one piece.
Mhm.
The second piece was going through some of his actual quotes.
Yeah.
And oh, you took him out of context and this and that. All right, y'all. If he's just speaking the truth, this is my greatest issue. Is liberals do it, conservatives do it. When you hear something you don't like, it doesn't mean that the person is instantly wrong, and it
Mhm.
doesn't mean
That's right.
that they're the ones being emotional.
Right.
Conservatives and Republicans love to do the whole facts over feelings. Facts
Mhm.
over feelings. It's the liberals that's always getting emotional and not.
Yes.
Well, when George Floyd died, what was Charlie Kirk's attitude about it?
Mhm.
When a school shooting happened 2 weeks later, did he say that it's the cost of doing business to keep the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So when I got to specific quotes, and because I didn't break it down the way that I should, I'll do it right now. Quote number one, when he referenced and said, and actually, I'll do one better.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't want to misquote him. He said, if you don't have the brain processing power to be taken really seriously, you had to steal a white person's slot to go and be taken somewhat seriously. You know who he was referencing? Black women.
Hmm.
He's out now. All of the supporters are talking about he's referencing DEI and people getting positions that they don't deserve. My initial stance is this. Now think about it logically.
Yeah.
What disregard the brain processing part. Disregard all the stuff he just said. Focus on one key piece: stealing or taking a white person's slot.
Mhm.
My question is, why didn't he assume that was a high achieving Asian person spot?
Mhm.
Mm.
Why
Fair.
didn't he assume
Fair enough.
that was a hardworking Hispanic person spot? And why didn't he assume that it was a black person spot that embodies them both?
Yeah.
And my question to his audience and his supporters is: when you make an assumption that that belongs to white people, or that was supposed to be for a white person,
Yeah.
how would a white supremacist have made that statement any different if they
Mhm.
felt the black person who had that job role and position didn't deserve it?
Mhm.
What would a white person, what would a white supremacist or white nationalist have said differently
Yeah.
if Charlie Kirk's conclusion was that belonged to a white person? Would not the white supremacists have said the same thing?
Mhm.
Well, he's talking the truth. The black on black crime is out of control, and his stats he's saying he's just giving the stats. He's giving the stats.
Yeah.
If any of y'all actually ever looked up the stats,
Mhm.
if he keeps saying 13% of the population committing 58% of the crime, 58% of the prison population,
Yeah.
but then when you go and look it up yourself, and it says 38%, why did you give us an extra 20%?
Yeah.
Why? And my stance is, if you're touring the country to talk about how broken and messed up and evil and vile the black community is and what it's turned into,
Stick to the truth.
and the black community gets to be viewed as a group, as a monolith,
Mm.
where the black community needs to get it together when the thugs and the grapists and the anarchists and all these black individuals that's committing these crimes, the black culture needs to get themselves in check.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But he never would talk about the mass shooters
Yeah.
who happen more often than not to be white males, and that being a
Mhm.
reflection of the white community or white culture,
Mm.
or them leading the charge in terms of sexual inappropriate actions towards minors and children,
Mhm.
or the big one, all these white female teachers sleeping with these students. That's
Mhm.
not seen as somehow a reflection of white culture or the white community.
Or the Catholics.
So
And,
what we're so and then with the Catholics in the US, there's all these black men that's Catholic priests that's touching on these boys.
right.
Mhm.
Right.
So every time a white person does something wrong, y'all get to be treated and seen as individuals. But when a
Mhm.
black person or Arab person or Islamic person does something, we're seen as a unit,
Mhm.
Right.
as a group.
Yeah.
I do know that a white supremacist, if their two goals was to make themselves and their community not look as bad
Mhm.
and to make the other groups look bad, they would highlight and focus on what's wrong and broken in the other groups and not have that same energy for themselves and their own. So I don't have to call him a white supremacist. I don't even have to say he's a white nationalist. I personally think that he's an individual who has just a conservative lens.
Yeah.
He uses racialized language. He knows what worked with the algorithm to get people to watch and to build up his revenue. And he had a particular lens where he believed one culture was superior over the other.
Yeah.
I'll give him this for why I will never call him an outright white supremacist. Why I will not say he's an outright racist. I saw him give black people opportunities economically.
Mm.
I saw him work with black people. And I saw him reference when he would talk about the black community at a time when they were at the height of what all other communities were striving for.
Hmm.
He would point to during Reconstruction and say the black community at one point had higher marital rates than anybody else did. So his lens is that there is an era when the black community was a model. No white supremacist would ever say that.
Yeah.
No white supremacist would ever say that. But my issue is you cannot use many of the adjacent, close, walking too close to the line of using many of the same talking points they do and just say, well, I'm not a racist though.
Yeah.
So my stance is you all are getting upset because people are sharing video clips of the very things he said.
Yeah.
The main legacy he wanted and he pushed for was freedom of speech, even speech you don't want to hear.
That's right.
So freedom of speech, if we have it, that means you can get offended. Charlie Kirk's legacy is about the ability to say things that he believes to be true, even if it's not, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's flat out wrong. But he has the
Yeah.
right to say it,
That's
and he has
right.
the right to still be alive.
Yeah.
Now that he's gone, all of y'all that are his supporters are trying to censor and get people fired. That's using that same free speech that he stood for and died for.
That's right.
Just because they're now using free speech in a way you don't like,
Yeah.
Right.
doesn't mean now the legacy that you said he was a hero for and he was an icon for, either what he stood for meant something. Would he want us to censor him right now? Or would he want us talking about him and using our free speech to say what we
Right.
like about him, what we don't like about him?
Yeah. The latter.
Selectively.
Definitely the
Right.
latter.
Right.
So
Definitely the latter.
don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Be selective.
Don't be a selective, like, don't be a hypocrite
Yeah.
when it comes to free speech. The
Mhm.
reality is, I can say he deserves to be here.
Yeah.
He deserves to still be alive. I'm sorry for his kids and his family losing a person. And many of his talking points were not only problematic, they were harmful. And they intentionally chose to focus on certain groups and the worst aspects of them as a representation.
Yeah.
And he ignored many of the things. The reality is, he talked so much about Chicago, which he visited and
Mhm.
was safe, and he ended up getting shot and killed and assassinated in white Utah.
Yeah.
So that's my lens.
Right.
Is all of y'all that are
iron.
all of you all that are talking about the black community so much. First of all, if you don't live in the hood, in the urban centers where the
Yeah.
majority of this is happening, you ain't scared of black people.
Yeah.
That's the reality. If you live in the suburbs, chances are you're not scared of black
That's
people.
right.
If you live in the middle of the country, chances are you're not scared of black
That's
people.
right.
If you live in the sticks in the countryside, you're probably not scared of black people.
Yep.
So this is really an urban city issue.
Mhm.
People like him are talking about this where y'all are convinced that black men everywhere is trying to take all y'all out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The reality is that's the piece that I didn't like.
I got you.
You cannot highlight all that's wrong from your lens of wrong with everybody else, but your group that leads the statistics in horrible categories, you ignore, downplay, or completely omit.
Mhm.
That's my issue with him and his legacy. That doesn't mean he didn't say anything true.
Right.
That doesn't mean that some of his statistics weren't legit. Some of them were, some of them weren't.
Yeah.
Some were disingenuous. And he never had the same energy and held his group, conservatives, white males, and white people to the same degree of scrutiny that he held blacks and Arabs and Palestinians and Muslims.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah, for me, I just want to make sure, and I can't think through the lens of a conservative because I'm not. I can't think through the lens of someone on the right or, someone who is hyper racist. I can't think through that lens. I can't see through that lens because I'm
Mhm.
not, right? What I can do is try to think, try to empathize on why they would give a response the way that they gave, right?
Yeah.
So do
I know
you
why.
so yeah, so I was going to go there. So why do you think they responded with such vitriol, but also do you do you think there is space to have more of a dialogue to make those who may took your statements wrong
Mm-hmm.
to have a deeper conversation in ease what the pain, the current pain is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One, somebody just passed.
Yeah.
So the reality is emotions are going to be involved.
for
That's
sure.
just the reality of it, right? Not everybody's just going to be rational. They're not going to be logical. They're going to be emotional. Number two, leftists and Democrats and liberals, they tend to struggle with what you just said. I don't
Yeah.
even know how to conceptually understand and see their viewpoint the
Yeah.
same way that MAGA struggles with understanding how liberals think
Yeah.
and see certain things.
Yeah.
It's two totally different
Yeah.
ecosystems,
Yeah.
worldviews,
Mhm.
and bubbles.
Dichotomies, totally. Yeah.
One way to word it, because a lot of black people I've seen a lot of liberals say this, he's their Dr. King. That's crazy. He's their Malcolm X. That's da 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 da. He was the number one contributing reason for why Donald Trump made it into office.
Charlie
That
Kirk.
I didn't know.
Yes. Number
I
one
didn't
for the
know that.
last decade.
I did not know
For the
that.
Neither
last
did I.
decade, there has been no one in the conservative circuit that has made conservatism cool, that's marketed it to the youth, to Gen Z and millennials,
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
who's
his
gotten
market. Yeah.
men and boys to switch political affiliations
Hmm.
and to show up to get a presidential candidate, not just elected, re-elected after
Mm.
losing the last
Mm.
time.
Mm.
So he is the face of American conservatism.
Mm.
Mm.
Number one. Number two, as big as Malcolm is in our community,
Mm.
who is the majority in race in America? Whites or blacks? Whites
Whites.
are the
The
majority.
Oh
majority.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
the
that's
person
interesting.
who's big amongst the whites is typically going to be
The
way
biggest.
bigger than the person
Yeah.
who's big amongst black
True.
folks,
True.
right? Number three, he was so big that he had influence to a degree over geopolitics. He had ambassadors like Netanyahu in Israel
Mm.
giving speeches on his behalf. Just think about this for a second. A podcaster is being shouted out by world leaders. I think it was either London or somewhere over in Europe. They just had a massive parade
Mm.
for him. So just because you never heard of him or
Yeah.
knew about him doesn't mean that he's not huge and had a huge.
Yeah.
He's a huge reason why the people who voted against Donald Trump didn't win.
Mm.
So he's actually a lot bigger than a lot of y'all realize. And
Oh,
this is the
wow.
key. He was the face for many people on the right
Mm-hmm.
of freedom of speech.
Hmm.
So when you take someone who's seen symbolically as the face of freedom of speech, being able to say things in public spaces, on social media, be able to be independent, not be controlled, and just be able to just say and deal with the consequences that comes
Yeah.
from that in all spaces and in the public eye, and deal with the attacks of being called a racist and a white supremacist and this and that, but he still felt like he had the right to say it, even articulating things that maybe many people that were conservatives or are conservatives or
Yeah.
are Republicans or maybe even a little racist.
Mm-hmm.
He gave and allowed in America, where we're constantly pushing for censorship and deplatforming people and people losing their jobs and people getting kicked off social media,
Yeah.
Mhm.
he was pushing for freedom of speech.
Hmm.
And when you take out the voice and face of what that represents, that's way bigger than Charlie Kirk.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So that's the huge piece of it,
Right.
is if you don't rock with him and if you don't follow him and if you haven't listened to him for years, you don't know that he's packing out college after college or tours for years. Years.
Mm.
You take your top 5 liberal whatever and make them do a multi-city tour and see how few of them can fill up these stadiums. You'll have your AOCs, you'll have your Bernies, you'd have Kamala to a degree, you'd have I don't even know if there's anybody else that can guarantee and pack out multiple
The
stadiums.
Obamas,
Oh
possibly.
yeah,
The
Obama's of
Obamas.
course,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But active people right
Yeah, for
now,
sure. Yeah.
there isn't people like that. He's not
Mm.
even a politician is doing that.
Mm.
So
Yes,
he's
that was heavy.
way bigger.
Right.
And people wanted his endorsement.
Yeah.
I think it used to be, not now though, Umar.
Yeah.
Dr.
Umar
Umar
Johnson.
Yes,
Johnson.
yeah,
I
to a
think at
degree.
one
Yeah,
one
yeah.
part of his era.
Yeah, earlier in his
Career,
career
yeah.
when we first knew of him for sure. But the
Yeah.
point I'm making is he is a symbolic representation, as imperfectly as it is, of freedom of speech in America.
Yeah.
Just happens to be on the right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you silence that
Mm.
Mm.
and half the country feels though he represented their
Yeah.
interests and viewpoints to some degree,
Yeah.
this is the equivalent of, it sounds crazy, but Dr. King.
Mm.
He represented maybe half the country. He didn't get support from all black people back then.
Mm.
He didn't get support from all white people back then.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of people that wanted him to shut up and stop.
Yeah.
So if only half the country was rocking with him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then he gets assassinated.
Mm.
JFK was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He gets assassinated. You think the whole country loved JFK before that assassination?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is a huge segment of the
Yeah.
country rocked with this guy and his movement.
Yeah.
He influenced our political environment arguably as much as Donald Trump did the last 8 years, for
Yeah.
good or bad.
Yeah, for good or bad.
But he
Yeah, for
did.
sure.
But he did. So that's why.
I hate the. I don't want to say I hate, but to even put his name in the name on the space of Dr. Martin Luther King, I'm like,
Well, we're
yeah,
black,
I know that's true.
right?
So,
So I'm just
no, I
saying, like,
got you. Yeah.
there's a
No,
reason why they don't constantly talk about
yeah, no,
Dr.
for
King, and
sure,
we do.
Mhm.
for sure. I'm being a little facetious, but what is there any right? Um, and the reason I'm kind of tiptoeing
Mm,
through a lot of these questions is because I want to be fair and continue to save space for you.
mm,
Is there anything, because first of all, I just want to thank you for pretty much giving us the exclusive. I know this is something that you didn't have the opportunity to speak about, and
mm,
you felt compelled and safe to share with us. So I want to make sure that you give the clarity,
hmm.
right, that you feel like those who are watching needs, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you feel that you want to give clarity, you want to clear up?
Hmm.
It could be nothing, but just for those who may have taken the podcast out of context, is there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
any more context you want to give to it? Is it any
Sure.
clarity?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
sure.
definitely in general.
Yeah, sure.
When I say things to women
Yeah.
that they don't want to hear, that I think will help them,
Mm,
it's not because I hate women. It's actually because I care about them.
mm,
Mm.
When I say things to men that I think will improve their chances of living better lives, it's not because I'm pandering to women. It's because I genuinely care about men. When I say things to Democrats, who I was formerly one for my whole adulthood up until recently, and still rock with y'all,
yeah, for
the whole
sure.
nine.
I'm independent.
Yeah, I'm an independent myself.
Oh, he said
But
rock with y'all. I'm just
No,
letting
no,
you
no.
look
yeah,
like.
but I'm actually speaking to the audience
I
Yeah,
when I
know.
no,
say this,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like,
Mhm,
it's because I actually want to see you get tangible things for your votes again.
mm,
And when I'm saying things to Republicans or conservatives,
mm,
no party, truth isn't beholden to one party at all times in all spaces.
I agree.
All right. So if I'm saying something that genuine, you don't have to worry about me being a shock jock.
yeah.
I could be funny. I can
Yeah.
say little shock jock moments, but I'm not
No.
saying these things because I don't believe them.
Mhm.
I genuinely believe that we're being played.
Mm,
I genuinely believe that um, men and women are being used as tools to fight against each other.
yeah.
I think we're being used as tools to fight against each other with race. I think we're
Mhm.
being used to rich and poor, black and white, men and women. I think that those who benefit from that division have figured out a great system within
Mhm.
our politics, within our education, within our entertainment, where we've been indoctrinated to always be suspicious, to always judge, and to always blame each other when something happens in culture and society. So my stance and lens is that's my clearing it up.
Mm,
It me saying these things, and it's not like I've always believed these things.
yeah.
I've had to change. I've had to acknowledge I've been wrong. I'm growing like the rest of us. I'm at a spot and place now where I can sit across from a mayor or governor and I can feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
I can sit
Mhm.
across from a psychologist and feel very comfortable.
That's right.
I can
That's
sit across from the most passionate liberal, the most passionate conservative, and I'm trying to model what I want us as a community to get to. We got to
Mhm.
read more. We got to be less reactive, less emotional, and more intentional about what it is that we're allowing and who it is we're allowing to influence us.
right. Mm,
I think if we become smarter, more intentional, and more collaborative, we're going to start to associate with people that's on that wavelength. We're not going to spend nearly as much of our time fighting and going crazy and cussing each other out
yeah.
as it is with collaborating and building with each other.
Yeah.
So when I call out something that I think the liberals or Democrats are doing wrong, the conservatives love me.
Hmm.
When I'm calling out things the men are doing wrong, the ladies suddenly
Yeah.
think
Of
I
course.
suddenly I'm
Yeah.
not sexist anymore.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is maybe it's actually the things that y'all don't want to hear that maybe y'all should look into further.
Mm,
Don't take my word for it or assume Jeff got it all together. Jeff's right because Jeff said it.
yeah.
I'm just posing things that maybe you haven't heard
Mhm.
so that you can do the thing I'm doing. Go and looking for yourself.
Yeah.
And if it turns out that the truth doesn't align with your lifestyle and what you're doing and living, adjust accordingly.
That's right.
That's it. That's my goal. That's to me that's what I'm clearing up and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Fantastic. So that's done with a critical lens,
Hmm.
right? And as they say, even when you're doing your thesis or dissertation, you have to argue the other side, right? You
Yes.
come up with the opposing view, right? The
Hmm.
perspective, the dichotomy of issues and the research of issues. And so I just appreciate you coming on the show, man. I think that when you lay out the framework that way, people can kind of digest it easier. And I think
Sure.
that's what's needed. I think it was really soon, which was the, what I guess
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
incited
for sure.
the
100%.
responses that people gave. And so
Mind you, that was intentional, by
yeah,
the way.
okay. Well, there you go. See, there
Hmm.
you
That was
go. I mean,
well,
this
well,
is the
well,
YouTube
hear me
area.
out.
Hmm.
When this stuff happens, usually two extremes happen. When a
Yeah,
very contentious and controversial figure passes,
yeah.
the one extreme is people cheering, they so happy,
Hmm.
Hmm.
loving it, the memes, the this, the
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
The other extreme is to try to sanitize the damage that they did,
yeah.
the chaos that they created. And they're either actual action
That's
or
right.
verbal action. On people say at the end of the day, it was just words. How many people did Adolf Hitler take out in World War
Yeah.
II?
Oh,
Was Adolf Hitler on the front lines?
Right.
mm,
Just
Or
with
was
mm.
his
words.
words enough to spark a generation of people to see another group as subhuman?
Mm,
So, yes, words are words,
yeah,
but words can lead to actions,
that's right.
and
They
actions can
become
lead to,
laws.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and they can lead to loss.
yeah,
So, my lens is just because, and this is the thing, hold him to the standard he held himself to while he was here.
Hmm.
yeah.
He said, uh, some of these deaths are going to be warranted in order
Hmm.
for our Second Amendment rights to be
He
what they
did say
are.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
He also said he doesn't see value in empathy, and empathy
I
isn't
heard
needed in
him
our
say
Hmm.
culture and
that. Yep.
society. He said that he's made it very clear what he's most concerned about
Yeah.
violence is our community. And the reality is, the irony is, the
Hmm.
person who took him out was not some thug in Chicago or some gang member in Philly or LA.
A squeaky
It was a
clean, he said.
apparently squeaky clean white male
Hmm.
shooter
Hmm.
in the middle of Utah.
That's
So
right.
So
wild.
my
Yeah.
stance is, take a second to think about the irony, think about what he stood for, and then don't assume everybody that's not crying is because they hate him or
Mm,
because they're happy.
yeah.
It's natural when you don't know somebody personally to not feel anything.
Hmm.
It's also
Right.
natural when somebody went out of their way to disparage you to definitely not feel
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's human to me. So we don't have to weaponize this moment, but I know how conservatives, and him included, acted when prominent black people passed.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The jokes, the comments, y'all focus on the life and legacy of George Floyd pretty
Yeah.
easily. Okay? Y'all was taking photo ops with people who took lives at
Yeah.
your shows.
Hmm.
So when the person you want is politicizing this, the person you like is politicizing this stuff is fine because it's in your camp.
Yeah.
When Democrats are talking about they got to take out Donald Trump, they got to get him out, somebody's got to blow up the White
Yeah.
House,
Yeah.
it's
Jeez.
on the same level as when
Yes.
Republicans and conservatives are doing it. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help
Yeah.
when each side is doing this tattletale, well,
Hmm.
y'all did this and y'all did that. Grow up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The truth is the truth, whether he was alive or not.
Wow.
Wow.
So for me, there's a way to approach the truth, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to walk that fine balance. Apparently,
Hmm.
I'm not doing the greatest job,
No, that's
but
good.
it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the opportunity,
Hmm.
and it's weird to
Yeah.
go from like just doing this with my friends and family
Yeah.
and pissing everybody off that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know to
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
now I'm pissing off
Wow.
like I think it's like 1.5 million views so far in the last
Yeah.
2 months. So
Yeah.
it's weird.
Hmm. Hmm.
But honestly, I'm enjoying it. The amount we started a book club on my channel, so
Fantastic.
uh despite the negatives, I think there's
Hmm.
a lot of positives. I've had men, women, people saying you've saved my marriage. I don't even
Hmm.
know these people, and then be
Yeah.
like, yo,
Wow.
the advice you
Amazing.
gave. So to me, that's what makes it worth it.
Mm.
um Safety is safety,
Yeah.
and it's got to be prayed up and be smart
Yeah.
Hmm.
and not try to go down the lane he went down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But people gonna be people, and at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, God knows when my time is.
Yeah,
So for
that's
me,
right. That's right.
for this season of my life, I'm getting a response that says I'm doing something right, and I can't trade that for anything.
Mm,
So yeah, that's where I'm at, and
right.
I'm grateful y'all brought me here.
Ah,
Mm.
thank you. Give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, what an interview! What an interview! I'm just happy that we was able to give you the platform to kind of clear some things up. It's
Mm,
easy for someone because I already know what most of the podcasts what happened with most of their podcasts. People always take these little pull quotes and little clips. They
mhm.
don't listen through the whole thing. They
Nope.
just take this one little clip to say, "Oh, this is what this person believes in."
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you listen to a lot of Charlie Clerk's um podcasts and some of the things that he did, Kirk's, I'm sorry, some of the stuff you kind of say,
It's
well,
actually right.
he got
Logical,
yeah,
yeah.
It's
he
actually
got a
And
he
right.
got a
people have done
point.
that for years.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did
yeah,
Yes.
with the Bible, the
yeah,
Quran.
yeah,
They take what they want that
yeah,
applies to them to make them right, and
yeah,
that's
Mm-hmm.
what they stick with.
yeah.
Selective listening,
Yeah,
selective
absolutely.
hearing. This
So,
is what they
Yeah.
do.
but that's the thing. Like, I just want to be fair when it comes to a full, because you have to have a discourse. Discourse don't happen with pull quotes. It
Mhm.
just doesn't happen,
Correct.
right? And so you have to pull back the layers and critically have a conversation on what the issue challenges are, so you can get down to where you have to pull back the layers, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
essentially is what you're doing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
kudos to you, my friend.